At the party, my girlfriend lost a game. And the punishment was to share a single cookie with a younger male student. The cookie grew shorter and shorter, and their lips drew closer and closer, until they finally brushed lightly against each other. Everyone present glanced at me awkwardly, afraid I would get angry. But to their surprise, I smiled indifferently. It's just a game, I don't mind. After the party ended, my girlfriend was still showing off to her colleagues about how generous and understanding I was. But she never saw that I had thrown away the engagement ring I had worn for 8 years and gone home early. Chapter 1. I was about to pack my luggage when the doorbell suddenly rang. The moment I opened the door, a strong smell of alcohol hit me in the face. Elizabeth's junior student was supporting a swaying, barely standing Elizabeth. When he saw me, a faint, meaningful smile flashed across his face. "Hello, I didn't get the chance to introduce myself earlier. I'm Kevin, the teaching assistant who works under her. I saw you left first, so I figured I'd bring her back." Suppressing my displeasure, I forced a small smile and took the red-cheeked Elizabeth from his arms. After thanking Kevin, I helped Elizabeth to the sofa. She was heavily drunk, eyes tightly shut as if she had already fallen asleep, her lips pale and bloodless. I quietly gazed at her lips. After a moment, I turned away. From behind came her voice, "Where are you going?" Without looking back, I answered almost instinctively, "To make you some sobering soup." The soup in the pot was boiling. I stared at her reflection on the glass door. She was sitting on the sofa while sinking into deep thought. I didn't know how much time had passed when a sudden sting shot through my hand. Looking down, I realized the soup was boiling over. I hurriedly fumbled to turn off the heat. When I brought out the sobering soup, Elizabeth was clutching her stomach, brows furrowed, looking extremely uncomfortable. I set the cup down beside her. "Sobering soup. You'll feel better after drinking it." Elizabeth took the cup. My gaze fell on her ring finger. It was bare. I remembered that during the first year we were together, we spent a long time searching before finally finding a pair of couple rings we both loved. She had worn it ever since. Whenever a student asked out of curiosity, she would proudly show it and sweetly tell them our story. But at some point, she had taken the ring off. All that remained was a faint circle on her skin, and eventually, even that disappeared. "Peter, what are you thinking about?" "Ah." I returned to myself and instinctively gave her a small smile. "Nothing." The sobering soup in the cup was already gone. I took it from her hand and turned toward the kitchen. But the moment I turned, she suddenly said, "Let's get married." My body stiffened. Time in the room seemed to freeze, the silence unnaturally heavy. My mind was filled with the image of her and that younger student's lips lightly touching at the party. It took quite a while before I finally turned back and said, "You're drunk." Her expression chilled instantly. The look she gave me was filled with dissatisfaction and a hint of grievance. "Suit yourself." She stared at me for a long moment, then closed her eyes, her tone icy. The microwave was still keeping a cup of warm milk hot. When I carried it out, Elizabeth was no longer in the living room. She was probably angry. I lowered my head and looked at my hand reddened by the burn, then casually poured the warm milk I had heated for her into the sink. As I applied ointment to my skin, a sudden memory surfaced. No matter how small my injury used to be, she would always rush over more anxiously than I did. She would scold me for being careless while carefully tending to my wound. But today, she didn't even notice I was hurt. Sometimes, you can't help but sigh at how strange time is. 8 years, neither too long nor too short. But the lively young girl in my memories had already grown more and more blurry. When I returned to the bedroom, the room was pitch dark. Elizabeth seemed to have fallen asleep, but I knew she hadn't. After all these years, some of her habits had never changed, like how she preferred to sulk alone in silence whenever she was upset. I hesitated for a moment and decided to set things straight. "Elizabeth, earlier." "I'm sorry." She cut me off, interrupting both my words and my thoughts. "Peter, I really have been too busy with work at school recently. I've neglected you. Once this period passes, everything will be fine." Her voice was full of exhaustion. She turned over and wrapped her arms around my waist, then quickly fell into a deep sleep. I thought I would toss and turn all night, but unexpectedly, I also drifted off. When I woke up the next morning, Elizabeth was no longer beside me. She was indeed very busy, so busy she didn't even have time to eat breakfast at home. In the afternoon, I went to the supermarket and unexpectedly ran into an old friend. "Peter, is that really you?" I turned around. It was the class monitor from my university days. Peter, you've changed so much I almost didn't recognize you. Changed a lot? I looked at her in confusion. Freya laughed. Yeah. How do I put it? You just give off that married family man vibe now. It's been so many years. Did you and Elizabeth get married? I forced a wry smile and shook my head. Not yet. What? You should hurry up then. I heard Elizabeth is a university professor now, young, beautiful, capable, you know what I mean. I gave a self-mocking smile and nodded along. What was there to worry about? That she'd fall for someone else? I had never doubted that Elizabeth would stay true to our relationship. Back then, it was because of trust. The girl whose eyes were filled only with Peter, lively and passionate, would never do such a thing. But now, would the sharp, worldly Elizabeth do it? I wasn't so sure anymore. Even though the doubt lingered in my heart, I didn't feel panic. It was as if no matter what happened, I could calmly accept it. 8 years, our love had slowly faded without us realizing it. Until last night at the party, until that ambiguous gentle brush of lips, whatever love was left vanished completely. Peter, we're having a class reunion next week. Will you and Elizabeth be coming? I snapped out of my thoughts and considered it. I should be free that day. As for Elizabeth, I'll have to ask her when I get back. Freya, time to go, a deep male voice called out. Freya said goodbye to me and quickly walked toward him. The two laced their fingers together, smiling joyfully. At that moment, I seemed to see myself and Elizabeth from years ago. At 6 in the evening, I returned home. Not sure whether Elizabeth would come back for dinner, I sent her a message. She didn't reply. Probably busy again. I shrugged and set my phone down. I was in the middle of cooking when I suddenly heard the sound of a key turning. Elizabeth was back. I glanced at the clock, 6:40. Why are you home so early today? I asked. I'm almost done with the work at school. Oh. I replied casually and continued stir-frying the vegetables. Silence spread between us. This kind of thing would never have happened in the past. We used to call each other soulmates. We talked about everything, our dreams, our studies, our hobbies, movies, funny travel stories, even the people and things that annoyed us. We always had endless topics to talk about. But now, we had fallen into silence. Let's talk, she said. We sat facing each other across the table, and suddenly that saying came to mind, lovers sit face to face, yet it feels as if an invisible chasm separates them. Had we become like that? I wasn't sure, but something in my heart felt undeniably off. What's been going on with you lately? She sighed, sounding a little helpless. I opened my mouth, but a wave of fatigue washed over me. So instead, I asked, I'm curious, why did you suddenly want to get married? Elizabeth replied, we've been together for 8 years. It's time to get married. So she wanted marriage not because of love, but because she felt we had reached that stage. As if, in her eyes, not getting married meant there was no love between us. Do you remember when we first started dating, you told me you wanted to prepare a grand and romantic engagement ceremony? Elizabeth froze for a moment, as if she were trying hard to recall that memory. Then she said, I'm not a child anymore. Those princess fantasies are long gone. Let's talk about that later. I looked at her quietly, and that familiar sense of helplessness surged again. On my way home from the supermarket earlier, I had bought flowers and I had already prepared the engagement ring. If she had just said the word, I would have taken out the flowers and the ring right then and proposed. But she didn't. And so, that conversation ended like that. The bouquet and the ring I had spent so long preparing, I quietly threw them into the trash. A week later, on a certain morning, I woke up unusually early, and Elizabeth was still home. I asked her, there's a reunion with our university classmates. Do you think you can spare the time to go? Everyone really wants to see you. She thought for a moment, then said, okay. Send me the time and place. I'll be there. I paused, then smiled and agreed. But by 5 p.m., I was still standing alone at the entrance of the venue. Inside, classmates were happily chatting away. When they saw me, they welcomed me in enthusiastically and asked, where's Elizabeth? Why didn't she come with you? I smiled and said, she's still busy with work. She'll be here later. But even when dinner was almost over, Elizabeth still hadn't shown up. In the end, all I received was a message from her. Something came up tonight. I'm not going. I replied okay and placed my phone face down on the table. A glass of wine was handed to me. I looked up, it was Freya. Peter, have things not been going well for you lately? I froze. My hand tightened involuntarily. So my mood had become that obvious. Freya glanced at me carefully, then hurried to explain, "Don't take it the wrong way. It's just, you don't look so well. Haven't been sleeping enough?" "Yeah, work pressure is pretty rough nowadays." "Same for me," another classmate chimed in. I didn't respond, just listened to them chat. But the answer I had been avoiding finally surfaced clearly in my mind. My life really wasn't going well. After the gathering ended, everyone said goodbye at the entrance. A classmate laughed and said, "Your wife sure is busy. You should rein her in a little, she has to come to the next reunion." I silently shook my head. When it came to Elizabeth, there was nothing I could rein in. It wasn't like before. Back then, she would discuss her decisions with me and listen to my suggestions. But now, no matter what I said, she already had her own plans. The once lively crowd quickly dispersed. Among the pairs of people walking away, I seemed to catch a glimpse of the 19-year-old version of Elizabeth and me back when we expressed our love so honestly and sincerely. As I was about to leave, Freya gently patted my shoulder and whispered, "Peter, take care of yourself." Freya had liked me back in our student days, but I rejected her. Seeing her find her own happiness now, I genuinely felt glad for her. And I appreciated that she didn't bring up Elizabeth as if she had seen straight through the forced smile hiding my real emotions. After everyone left, light rain began to fall. I stood on the steps and glanced at my watch. An hour had passed, yet Elizabeth still hadn't shown up. My phone had run out of battery at some point and shut off automatically, so I could only stay where I was and keep waiting. But before long, the rain grew heavier, pattering loudly on the ground. I checked the time again and decided not to wait for Elizabeth anymore. I turned and started walking home. 5 kilometers wasn't too far, much closer than the distance between us when we were in a long-distance relationship years ago. Yet somehow, tonight, it felt unbearably long. When I finally got home, I was drenched from head to toe. As I opened the door, I saw 2 people inside the house. Elizabeth was sitting on the sofa, and beside her was a man with one arm half wrapped around her, their posture intimate. ## Chapter 2. I recognized him. He was Elizabeth's junior, Kevin. The two of them were sitting very close. From where I stood, it looked as if they were practically leaning against each other. As if suddenly noticing my presence, Kevin quickly stood up. "Peter, she had to attend a last-minute gathering tonight. She drank a bit too much." My gaze swept briefly over the towel in his hand. "It's fine. You take care of her first. I'll go upstairs and change." By the time I came back down, Kevin was already gone, and Elizabeth was sitting on the sofa, seemingly sober. A question rose in my mind, one I could no longer suppress. What exactly did she take me for? She let me walk home alone for 5 kilometers in the rain, let another man into our house freely, and he even knew exactly where to find her towel. I thought it, and I asked it. On Elizabeth's face, which had always shown me nothing but affection, a faint trace of impatience appeared. "Don't overthink it. He's just my junior." I was speechless. "A junior?" But the way he looked at you was anything but innocent. Maybe realizing her tone had slipped, she softened her voice. "Don't think too much. It was my fault today. Tomorrow I'll buy you that watch you like, okay?" A sharp ache shot through my chest. I turned my head away, unable to look at her. Elizabeth thought she had coaxed me successfully, so she went upstairs to wash up. I stood there holding the hairdryer, watching her back as she walked away. The silence felt deafening. Suddenly, I felt as if a hole had opened in my chest, letting in a cold wind that hurt more than I expected. I've never had the habit of eating breakfast, and my stomach always hurt. In countless memories, that person, who was always cool and indifferent to others, would look at me with a gentle doting smile. "You never take care of your body. From now on, I'll make breakfast for you every day. You're not allowed to leave before finishing it. Elizabeth, what would I do without you?" She would frown and pinch my nose. "Don't say nonsense. We'll never be apart." "Elizabeth, what about you? What if the one who wants me to leave is you?" Elizabeth worked quickly. When I woke up the next morning, a beautifully wrapped box was sitting on the table. I really liked this watch model, but it had been out of stock for a long time. I used to go every week to check if it had arrived. Eventually, I stopped asking and let go of the anticipation. Now that the watch was finally in front of me, I found I didn't even want to open the box. It turned out that no matter how much you like something, once the freshness wears off, you stop caring as much. Today was our 8th anniversary. But she didn't remember. Or maybe she remembered but no longer considered it important. A sudden chill ran through me, spreading outward from deep inside, then slowly seeping into my bones. All at once, I wanted to visit Elizabeth's grandfather. Elizabeth's parents divorced when she was young, and she was raised by her grandfather. The frail old man passed away during her first year of work. Before he left, he held Elizabeth's and my hands tightly together, hoping we would go through life peacefully and stay together for a long, long time. The first time Elizabeth brought me home to meet him, he held my hand with a kind, gentle expression. Even with his unsteady legs, he still bustled around the kitchen, determined to cook us a good meal. As an old man, I liked you the moment I saw you. You and Elizabeth must learn to be tolerant of each other and walk through life hand in hand. I used to visit Elizabeth's grandfather often with her. We would stop by the flower shop at the foot of the hill to buy a bouquet of sunflowers, then place it in front of his grave. Later, I continued going frequently, while Elizabeth only came occasionally. And now, it was only me who went. As usual, I walked to the flower shop to buy flowers, only to find a for transfer sign hanging at the entrance. So I silently walked to another shop. I still couldn't hold back and sent Elizabeth a message, telling her that the flower shop we always went to had closed down. She didn't seem that busy today. Her reply came quickly, without surprise, stated as if it were obvious, then just buy from a different shop. I stared at her message with a complicated expression, then pressed the power button and turned off my phone. So, the only person still drowning in the past was me. This embarrassment and helplessness felt even worse. Even more defeating than the night I stood drenched in rain at the door while Kevin appeared beside her clean and crisp. I bought 2 bouquets of sunflowers and placed them on each side of the grave. Grandpa, the one on the left is from me. The one on the right. I'm giving it to you on Elizabeth's behalf. She's too busy, so please don't blame her. I sat in front of the grave and talked about everything that had happened over the years. In the photo, Grandpa was still smiling, his cloudy yet gentle eyes looking at me in that same heart-trembling way they always had. Finally, I stood up and bowed to him. I'm going to break the promise I made to you back then. I probably won't come here with her anymore, but I'll keep coming to see you. By the time I took the bus home, it was already 11. Elizabeth was sitting on the sofa, but the house was completely dark. Why didn't you turn on the lights? I asked as I flipped the switch. The bright light instantly filled the room. Why are you home so late? Your phone was off too. There was accusation in Elizabeth's tone. Do you have any idea how long I waited for you? I let the faint smile fade from my face and murmured almost to myself, so you do know that waiting for someone feels terrible. Her angry expression stiffened. I was waiting because of work. I finished her sentence for her. Elizabeth, you've been using that line to brush me off for 8 years. I've had enough. What do you mean? Her dark eyes fixed sharply on me, a flash of panic crossing her face. I finally said the words I'd wanted to say for days, and strangely, my heart felt lighter. Let's break up. Peter, stop being unreasonable. Elizabeth frowned. Even at a moment like this, she still thought I was being unreasonable. How ironic. I replied softly, I'm serious, Elizabeth. Why? Tell me why. We've been together for 8 years. Anyone normal would already be married by now. You're not a kid anymore. This isn't the kind of life I want. I work this hard and earn money for our future. You're mediocre, you never achieve anything, so you stay home. Isn't this the life you wanted? A sudden sense of everything falling into place washed over me. So this was how she saw me. On my birthday last year, you were away on a business trip. I bought a cake myself and waited alone the whole night. I finally decided to go to Chong City to see you, but at the hotel entrance, I saw you walking out together with Kevin. Elizabeth laughed lightly. You thought I cheated on you? No, he was just delivering something to me. I know. But you do know that Kevin likes you, don't you? Elizabeth tried to explain. He's my junior, very capable. I need him for my work. Need him? Need him so much that even if he kisses you, it doesn't matter? I stared at her, disappointed, and finally understood. The woman in front of me, hair perfectly in place, dressed neatly in her professional suit, was no longer the bright, affectionate girl I once loved so deeply. Do you know he's the one who sent me your address that night? That whole scene was deliberate. He wanted me to see it. And you clearly knew how he felt about you, yet you still kept him close, right in front of me. Honestly, I found it disgusting. And another thing, Elizabeth. You think letting me pursue what I love is some kind of favor you granted me. Well, let me be very clear, it wasn't. A year ago, I met a highly respected figure at a design exhibition. He was willing to recommend me to study abroad. But I gave it up. Back then, you were just starting your career, and I was worried you wouldn't manage on your own. Looking back now, I was such an idiot. Elizabeth seemed shaken. Her body swayed, and she pressed a hand to her stomach, sweat beading on her forehead. The old me would have gone straight to get her medicine without hesitation. But today, I only cast her a faint glance, then made up my mind and headed upstairs to pack my things without looking back. I didn't have many belongings. 8 years of my life were packed into a small suitcase, light as a feather as I dragged it behind me. When I walked past Elizabeth, she said, "If you walk out, don't come back." I paused for a moment, my voice calm. "All right. Then I won't say goodbye." Leaving at dusk wasn't a smart decision, but with my emotions at that point, staying wasn't an option anymore. I went to my friend's place and honestly told him I had broken up. He grew angry. Was it Elizabeth? Did she? No. We're just not suitable anymore. Jordan stared at me in disbelief. Come on, Peter. You've been together 8 years. How can two people stay unsuitable for 8 years? Who knows? Maybe the days of being suitable only lasted the first few years. Maybe everything after that was just slowly eroding the love built up at the start. A relationship that burns too brightly at first only goes downhill later. But this is too sudden. When did you start thinking about breaking up? I thought for a moment. 2 years ago, the thought flashed by once. She was rising in her career, and I specially took leave to fly to North City to surprise her, but she left me alone at her place for 3 days. By the last day, I was upset. That time she finally put down her work side and asked me, "What do you want from me exactly?" The next morning, when I woke up at Jordan's place, he had already gone to work. I slowly finished breakfast and began gathering my things, only to find the jade pendant her grandfather had given me tucked in my bag. After thinking it over, I decided to return it to Elizabeth. I went to her university by bus, planning to leave the pendant in her office and go. But then a voice spoke up behind me, "Peter, are you here to look for her?" I turned around. It was Kevin. I couldn't help mocking myself, he sure got the news quickly. "No, I'm just here to return something to her. Since you're here, you can give it to her for me." I handed him the jade pendant and was ready to leave. But of course, some people just refuse to let things go smoothly. "Peter, after all those years with her, you still ended up breaking up with her. Really not worth it." I laughed, meeting his gaze without avoiding it. "And in what capacity are you lecturing me? As her junior? Or as Elizabeth's future boyfriend? If I didn't leave, how else would you get what you've been hoping for?" In front of all the passing students, Kevin's hidden agenda was laid bare. His face turned red and pale at the same time. I couldn't be bothered to talk to him anymore. I waved a hand. "Hope you manage to win Elizabeth soon. All that effort you've put in shouldn't go to waste." Just as I was leaving, I unintentionally saw Elizabeth's figure reflected in the glass panel of the door. I didn't say goodbye. Just as I'd said, we should never see each other again. After breaking up with Elizabeth, my life suddenly became busier. First, I had to find a place to stay. Second, I needed to resign from my old studio. My previous studio worked under one of Elizabeth's partner companies. Since I had decided to cut all ties with her, staying there was no longer an option. Both tasks had to be done at the same time, so I was running around nonstop every day. But it felt fulfilling. Even Jordan said I looked like a dead tree revived, full of life again. After sending out countless resumes, I finally reached a mutual agreement with a new company. I also found an apartment near the office. 2 good things in a row naturally called for a celebration, so I invited Jordan. The location was the food street outside my new neighborhood. "Man, your luck is ridiculous. How are you finding jobs this easily? Talented people really do shine everywhere. I heard your new boss is expanding into the design industry and owns several other companies. You're about to make it big." Elizabeth really thought too highly of herself. He took a big gulp of beer and laughed wholeheartedly. I was happy too. I didn't expect them to trust me so much. They even made me the design director. In the following months, the company assigned project after project, keeping me extremely busy. In the middle of all that, I received a call from Elizabeth's friend Bianca. She told me Elizabeth had been drinking heavily lately, getting drunk and calling my name while clutching a bottle. Bianca asked, "Could you come pick her up just once?" You were together for 8 years. You can't really bear to see her like this, can you? I refused. I told her I was too busy to spare the time and asked her to send Elizabeth home. At the end of the call, I added, Elizabeth and I have nothing to do with each other anymore. Please don't call me again. Bianca let out a cold laugh. Peter, you're really cruel. I honestly think Elizabeth deserves better. I didn't respond, just smiled faintly and put the whole matter out of my mind, throwing myself back into work. A colleague nearby glanced at me sympathetically. Peter, don't be fooled by how gentle and easygoing Abigail usually seems. Once she gets into work mode, she becomes a completely different person, serious and intense. But honestly, you can learn a lot from her if you keep up. Abigail was indeed highly capable, and her judgment was sharp. Whether in work or in dealing with people, I learned a lot from her. Abigail stood at the doorway. Peter, you're coming with me for an urgent assignment later. Go pack your things first. By the time I reached the garage, Abigail was already waiting beside the car. For the past few months, because we lived in the same area, she would give me a ride to work every morning. But every time I tried to object, Abigail would give me a half smile and say, as a boss, do you really think I'd let my employee waste work hours on commuting? Alright, fair point. I zipped my lips with my fingers, signaling I wouldn't bring it up again. After it happened enough times, I eventually got used to it. Now I could sit in her car without even blinking, and we would occasionally chat about what we planned to eat for dinner. Abigail's cooking was amazing. The first time I tasted her food, I was genuinely stunned. Meanwhile, my cooking could only be described as plain to the point of being borderline terrible, so I thickened my skin and went to her place for meals more than a few times. Tonight's flight is at 9. Pack your things, then go upstairs and eat. Make sure to reach the airport before 8:30. Abigail spoke calmly while driving, arranging everything in an orderly manner. I stared at her. Abigail had that serene, timeless beauty, gentle, steady, calm like a warm breeze on a quiet day. Suddenly, I blurted out, Abigail, you look pretty charming today. How come you don't even have a boyfriend? Abigail shot me a sideways glance. Director Peter, as flattered as I am, please don't try to butter me up just to get out of a business trip. My heart dropped. So in your eyes, I'm that impure, unkind, scheming of a person? Abigail let out a soft laugh, her tone meaningful. Everyone should have some self-awareness. I repeated silently in my head, she's the boss, she's the boss. As a competent employee, we must respect and admire our boss. As an excellent employee, we must also learn to help the boss identify problems, analyze problems, and solve problems. I pretended to suddenly understand something. I know why you don't have a boyfriend, boss. Mainly because your mouth is astonishingly sharp. What man could handle that? Abigail asked casually, almost jokingly, does that include you? Ha! I froze instantly. Don't tell me Abigail actually has feelings for me. While Abigail went to park the car, I took the elevator up first. But when I reached my apartment door, I unexpectedly saw Elizabeth standing there. She turned her head at the sound of my footsteps. Her usually cold, calm eyes were bloodshot. When she saw me, the look in them shifted into excitement and cautious hope. Peter. She walked toward me. I felt no joy at this reunion. My expression was calm, as if I were looking at a stranger. Long time no see. What do you want from me? She stopped 3 steps away from me. It seemed like she wanted to move closer, but my attitude clearly hurt her. She forced herself to stay where she was, standing stiffly in front of me. I already know what Kevin did. I've applied to the university to replace him as my teaching assistant. I won't have any more contact with him. Elizabeth's tone carried guilt and apology. I've rearranged my courses for next semester. I'll have more time to be with you. So, Peter, will you come back to me? Kevin's name felt like something from long, long ago, like an old, yellowed photograph from another lifetime. Its colors faded beyond recognition. Noticing her hesitant, hopeful gaze, I knew she truly regretted everything. But no one stays in the same place forever, waiting for someone who never turns around. I'm sorry, Elizabeth. You still don't understand, our problem isn't Kevin. It's the 1,000 nights you ignored me, the living room lamp left on until dawn, the door that never opened no matter how long I waited. Every time I look at you, those dark, bitter memories come back. Elizabeth lowered her head. Her voice trembled. I'm sorry. Seeing her like this made my nose sting. The proud woman she used to be was now bowing her head in front of me, and it didn't feel good at all. Don't be like this. Our steps no longer match. Getting separated was inevitable. I'm going inside. Elizabeth suddenly grabbed my wrist, her eyes red-rimmed as if pleading, "Peter." A slender hand reached out from the side and forcefully pulled Elizabeth's hand away. Abigail held my bag in one hand and firmly restrained Elizabeth's wrist with the other. Her voice was calm and unhurried. "Peter, you need to leave for the airport with me in half an hour. Go pack dinner in a moment." Her tone sounded gentle, but the authority beneath it left no room for argument. Elizabeth's eyes moved between us, filled with pain. "You two are living together?" "Work comes before everything, the ultimate rule of all working people." My heart skipped a beat. I immediately bolted inside to pack, completely ignoring Elizabeth's presence and not answering her question. When I finished packing and came out, Abigail was standing in my living room, placing a bowl of freshly cooked noodles on the dining table. The door was shut tightly. Elizabeth had probably already left. I pushed away my thoughts and had just sat down to eat when Abigail suddenly said, "So you rejected me because of her?" I almost choked to death. I shot her a reproachful glare, only to meet her delicate, refined features and instantly lost the ability to say anything harsh. "Form is emptiness, emptiness is form." I recited the purifying mantra, speaking in my usual calm tone. "She's my ex-girlfriend. Besides, you've never officially confessed to me," I said. The moment the words left my mouth, I felt an ominous premonition. Sure enough, Abigail clasped her hands together, rested her chin on them, and looked at me. "Then let me ask now, Peter, would you like to be with me? You can eat my cooking anytime you want." That was it. She struck right at my weakness. My face warmed for no reason. "We'll see how things go." Since that day, I hadn't seen Elizabeth again. I didn't know what had stopped her from coming, but I did feel relieved. Without her influence, I poured myself completely into my work, and my performance soared. Abigail treated me very well. I knew she wanted me to slowly get used to her presence and even develop some dependence on her in daily life. I tried to stay rational, but clearly, I was no match for her. When I teased her about being cunning, Abigail only laughed. "Peter, you do have feelings for me too. Love isn't something controlled by just one person. It takes two people moving toward each other." As much as I didn't want to admit it, she was right. I was indeed slowly gravitating toward her. Eventually, we officially got together. Honestly, nothing felt drastically different. It was just that every time I came home, there was a hot meal waiting for me. The house key was always placed somewhere obvious. And every day, fresh, beautiful flowers were laid on the dining table. I complained jokingly, "Abigail, don't spoil me too much. You might not be able to get rid of me later." Abigail didn't mind at all and openly revealed her intentions. "I want you stuck to me." Abigail truly was a capable boss. She guided me step by step, encouraged me to take leaps I had never imagined before, and pushed me onto a brand new stage of life. In my 8th year of working, I received an invitation from the London Central Academy of Fine Arts as a visiting scholar. When I stood on that podium, looking at Abigail smiling warmly at me from below, I couldn't help marveling at how strange and wonderful life could be. That night, we went to the banks of the Thames. The river shimmered with golden light. There, I proposed to Abigail. Those memories with Elizabeth, things I once thought were unforgettable, had blurred with time. I couldn't even clearly picture Elizabeth's face anymore. ## Elizabeth's side story. Years change, and time moves on. I am a person who thinks highly of myself. I won't deny it, in fact, I'm even a little proud of it. But fate is fair. I walked too fast, so fast that I lacked the steadiness and calm I should have had. Because of my arrogance and impatience, I lost the treasure I had always held dear, my Peter. I never told him that it was love at first sight for me. On the day of the school anniversary, I was drawn to a painting, and then I saw the young man behind it. A white shirt, full of youthful energy and brightness, the exact kind of life and warmth I had always longed for. Love sometimes begins without warning and grows deeper without control. I never imagined I would tiptoe across half the campus just to see him from afar. So I silently watched him, waiting for a chance to confess. When he said yes, I felt like I was dreaming for an entire month. Maybe because of my impoverished and dark past, I became too desperate to succeed. After graduation, I threw myself into climbing upward as fast as I could. Kevin, my junior, looked at me in ways he shouldn't. I knew he liked me. But he was capable, so I kept him around. No matter how late I came home, Peter would be waiting for me in the living room. If it was too late, he would leave the lamp on for me. And even though he couldn't cook, he learned to make sobering soup just for me. I loved Peter so much. But society is a stage of power and ambition. The higher I climbed, the more ugliness I saw. I became colder, more calculating. I still looked down on everyone, but my role slowly shifted from merely watching with cold eyes to playing along with the game. And Kevin was the perfect tool. Whenever I came home smelling of alcohol and perfume, Peter would worry and tell me not to tire myself out. I found it laughable. After all these years, he was still so naive. How could I possibly let go of everything I had fought so hard to earn? I began to grow irritated with him, irritated by his concern, irritated by his attempts to share emotions I no longer cared about. One day while I was working, he sent me a message about a shop closing. I didn't understand why it mattered. If that shop closed, we could just go to another one, simple. But I forgot that flower shop was the one we had always gone to. It carried so many of our memories. When I shrugged it off, I wasn't just abandoning a shop, I was abandoning our shared past. Why would Peter ever want to leave me? He clearly said he would stay with me forever. I resented him for going back on his word. So I hardened myself and told him that if he walked out, he shouldn't come back. And he really didn't come back. While looking for cigarettes in the drawer, I found his journal. Kevin had done so many excessive things. I ignored Kevin's begging and replaced him as my assistant. I went to look for Peter, wanting to tell him everything, but all I received were his calm, indifferent eyes. When I tried to grab his hand, a woman stopped me. For the first time in so many years, he ignored me and followed another woman's words as he walked back inside. That woman was Abigail. I knew her, she was a powerhouse in the business world. She told me not to debase myself. Peter had waited for me for so long, but I never turned back. So why should he turn back now that it's my turn to wait? She also told me that Peter once gave up a remarkable future for my sake. But I still failed him, so I no longer had the right to stand before him. Yes, she was right. But I still couldn't accept it. After that, I stopped disturbing Peter, but I tried every possible way to find out about his life. Peter went abroad. Peter fell in love. Peter was getting married. Time became a blurry number for me. I had just returned from a business trip overseas when I saw him at the airport. The place was packed with people, absolutely crowded, yet I saw him instantly. Abigail was leaning against him. Their fingers were interlocked as they walked toward a black car parked by the curb. He was smiling so brightly, just like he used to back then. And suddenly, memories from many years ago flooded back when we two leaned on each other like that. We had walked together so smoothly for so long. But in the end, everything fell apart at the very last step.